Edition of the Sunday Game. On the programme tonight, it's the Leinster hurling final from Croke Park, the meeting of Wexford and Offaly to see who will be the new champions in the province. Also on the programme we have football, and that of course means this afternoon's Ulster final from Clonus between Down and Tyrone. Well, Kieran Bauer and Colm O'Rourke join me in studio tonight. Kieran has been to Croke Park for the hurling final. Colm has been watching the Ulster final. And here's a reminder about our phone line. 016435335 is our number. Now give us a call if there's any point that you want to put to our panel or that you want to offer yourself. Well, it's with football that we begin this evening. Down, the 1991 All-Ireland champions, back in the Ulster final after 2 years in the wilderness. They against a Tyrone side seeking to become the latest hotshots from Ulster on the football scene. The commentator in Clonus is Ger Canning.
And we're going to begin here with a check on the Down lineup, which shows Ross Carr at right half forward, having made a full recovery from an ankle injury aggravated on the opening day against Derry, which caused him to miss the semi-final victory over Monaghan. He's on one of the Mourne men's strongest lines, which includes Greg Blaney and James McCartan. Curiously, Blaney's first cousin is the Tyrone centre-half-back Fergal Logan, who seems set to mark Down's number 11. Joe Cassidy keeps his place in goal, having recovered from a groin injury that forced him to be substituted against Donegal, while an alteration in attack sees Brian Gormley, a sub for each of the last two matches, in from the start in place of Eamon McCaffrey. Taking charge of his second successive Ulster final is Tommy McDermott from Killishandra in County Cavan. Straight away, it's Gregory McCartan, cousin of James, of course, in this, the 96th Ulster football final. Faye Devlin. St Tiernach's Park at its most splendid best. DJ Kane here, the Down captain. In pursuit back there is Fergal Logan. James McCartan, in the thick of the action right from the beginning, along with DJ Kane. Mickey Linden waiting for it to come his way. Referee's whistle has sounded. Down get the decision. Gary Mason shaping up to take this one from just outside the 20-metre line. There's the angle that confronts him. Should be the first score of the game here. Doesn't make too many mistakes. That's the first chance he's got this afternoon. And Down take an early lead. Once again the team captain pushing forward. Again targeting Gary Mason in the corner. Enterprising ball across towards Ross Carr. Morris in some trouble, goalkeeper coming out. And the referee's whistle has sounded. It's not going to count. Referee's whistle had sounded just a little while ago for some elbowing. You can see the referee in the background just as that ball has been planted into the empty net. Now Canavan hauled down. Brian Burns taking down his man, and the fullback in trouble already against the pace and penetrative skills of this number 14, quite blatantly taken down. Canavan shaping up like he'll take this one himself. So a gilt-edged chance here of the equaliser in the 6th minute. Delighted Tyrone fans in this newly constructed ground. Capacity 35,000. Both points here coming from placed balls. Canavan then putting his side on level terms. Tyrone doing quite well at midfield. Kieran Kerr to the centre again towards Peter Canavan. Nicely laid off there towards Lawn. This is Stephen Lawn. The Lawns are twins, and that's Stephen, who makes it 2 goals and a point for this campaign so far, his first of the day. Tyrone in front for the first time in the match. Well, his twin brother is the fullback, but this guy is a really good forward. Shrugs off the attention of the backs and kicks with unerring accuracy. This is where Mickey Linden has taken up position. Faye Devlin has got across to mark him. Oh, the goalkeeper was very nearly deceived, just got a hand to it and flicked it over the bar. Good point by Mickey Linden. Well, Joe Cassidy had to be really sharp to prevent a goal there by Linden. This is where Faye Devlin was just allowing him just a yard of space. It almost curled in. Quick change of position by the goalkeeper. Adrian Kilpatrick being taken out to the left-hand side here. Brian Gormley, some great scoring now. Brian Gormley's first point of the day, and it's 3 points to 2. Shaping up to be quite a championship tie. It was Adrian Kilpatrick from Dungannon who was being taken out to this left-hand side, but that's where Gormley had taken up position, and a very fine kick. Ball broken down nicely here for Eamon Burns to come onto. Ross Carr still trying to make some headway. Part of an exciting half-forward line which has seen James McCartan start in a kind of roaming commission. This is where Ross Carr was surrounded by Tyrone men. Free has been awarded. So Gary Mason, who got the first point of the match, composing himself completely. An important kick. That's a second for Gary Mason, and the match is tied up once again. Fergal Logan a bit slow to close down Greg Blaney, and that deemed to have been a throw rather than an effective and legal hand pass. Tyrone have used the tactic in this match as we watch Paul Donnelly here mete out some punishment. Where possible, Tyrone are trying to isolate their own full forward, Peter Canavan, and withdrawing the corner forwards. DJ Kane. Chance of a score taken by the left half back. The captain from Shamrocks in Newry. Delighted down supporters here. And this is where they went back in front again. Marking was a little bit slack as DJ was penetrating and kicking with that right boot. Meanwhile, Plunkett Donaghy. Nicely forward for Gormley. This time it's the down backs who are a little bit slow to close in on the raiding forwards, and that gives Gormley enough chance and space to kick his second point. The other one, you remember, was on the left-hand side, this on the right, and it's 4 points apiece and some match. Here he was taking off, but given too much latitude, kicking left and right, this time with the left boot. Broken down by Morris, but only as far there as Conor Deegan. Against some broken ball, and it's Mickey Linden. Once again raiding. Golden chance here. And Greg Blaney coming in on the burst. Referee says play on. Ball trickles. And then it's got to be a penalty, I think, because it was scooped off the ground inside of the small rectangle. The referee was in very quickly. Yes, a penalty. This is where it happened, just as Greg Blaney was pressing in there. And watch, as it was Faye Devlin who took it up. Mickey Linden looking for the first goal of the game here in the 24th minute. It's putted wide. It was a great chance, no doubt about that, but blazed well wide. So a real talking point here. Gathered stylishly here by Aidan Farrell. Released outside to Ross Carr. High up into the ozone layer. Coming down. And that's gone by for a 45. So once again, it's Gary Mason who comes out to take this kick. 3 points from 3 close-in frees so far. 8 minutes to go to half-time now. Driven well, and over the bar. His success rate from place balls keeps on going. Down, lead by 3. This was a wonderful kick from the 45-metre line. Straight and true. Broken down by Stephen Law. Belted out by McCartan. That's Gregory McCartan to Mickey Linden. Linden against Faye Devlin. What a battle this, because Devlin's a very good marker. Back to Ross Carr. Will it curl insufficiently? Yes, it will. His second point of the day. It's been a very good first half for Down, leading now by double scores. Aidan Morris for a Tyrone side that need to get a grip on things. Brian Gormley has played deeper and deeper. Canavan, lovely dodge, taking it away from Higgins. This is where he needs support. Plunkett Donaghy's inside. He goes for the kick. He gets the score. May have got a finger in the eye as well for his troubles. His second point, reducing the gap to 3 points again. Down bidding to win back the Ulster Championship that they last held in 1991. This is Gregory McCartan. That's curling, it's twisting, it's turning, and it's gone over. An amazing kick by Gregory McCartan. So the Down lead is 4 points once more. This is a great piece of individual play. He burst downfield. At one stage it looked like it was heading towards the corner flag, then curled in beautifully and right between the two posts. And that the final action of the first half, which had some very good moments, and Down enjoying a good half-time lead here. But you just get the feeling if Tyrone can get motoring in midfield and in their half-forward line, anything is possible. But the half-time score here reads Down 9 points, Tyrone 5. So just this third ever Down Tyrone Ulster final restarting. And in the previous two meetings it was Tyrone who took the honours, 1973 and 1986. But Down have to go back to 1966 for their last win of the championship against Tyrone. Fergal Logan set to take this first free on the second half. Peter Canavan, if he can get the right kind of ball, not the type of ball he was getting in the first half, which was way in too high for him. He's injured at the moment. Watching as Kieran Loughran tries to turn something out of this. Gathered here well by Paul Higgins, one of the stars of the 91 victory. Dropped in towards Mickey Linden, being watched very closely by Faye Devlin. Nicely outside to Brian Gormley. Taking Paul Higgins on a tour of duty around this park. Trying to prise open the defence there. Micheál McGill does well against Kieran Loughran. Down's free kick. Once again Paul Higgins. In support there he has Gregory McCartan taking it back. And this time it's the Down forward line who have the chance to turn on the style. Mason kicking. First attack of the second half for them. And Gary Mason's got a 5th point. Not the first from play. And once again Down lead by double scores. They're able to repel everything at one end, then switch defence into attack. The backs just easing off somewhat, staying too far away from their men. And Down having some wonderful finishers. And another great point. Claimed back here again by Gregory McCartan for a very physically tough and strong Down team. Farrell on his way into the man with just the boot. One boot for James McCartan, trying to engineer something, and the referee says that's a free in. He's fouled, it's a penalty. A second penalty indeed. And James McCartan going across to push Paul Donnelly out of the way. Donnelly's trying to get rid of the other boot. And really this is pretty ugly looking. Two players who are well hyped up here. And you just hope that common sense will prevail as James made this dashing run inside there, having lost the boot. And then he was going for something, that was certain. Down he went, and the referee says penalty. Remember, it's 10 points to 5 in Down's favour. Here comes Roscar. That's in the back of the net. Well, they may have missed one penalty earlier on, but the goalkeeper did well here, just got a finger to it, but couldn't prevent it. Sheer power. Once again, it's Paul Higgins against Brian Gormley. Barry Bree now. Knocked in beautifully. Faye Devlin just getting there ahead of his man. Chris Lawn. Tyrone very much facing an uphill battle as Paul Donnelly tries to advance. Adrian Cush transferring it here to Kieran Corr, the team captain, nicely inside there. Oh, there was a high elbow on Brian Gormley, and the referee says free into Tyrone. Difficult player to dispossess, Brian Gormley. The angle that confronts Peter Canavan from Errigal Kieroyne, the Ulster club champions, beaten in the semi-final of the championship by the eventual winners Nemo Rangers. It's one they certainly needed, his third point. Just about keeping them in touch. Switch in the down attack has brought James McCartan now to top of the left and Gary Mason to left half forward. Meanwhile, it's Pascal Canavan in towards his brother. Peter transferred towards Kilpatrick, couldn't hold it. Back by Canavan to the other. Peter Canavan adventurously in. Nice move. Great stay by the goalkeeper. It's missed it into the net. A goal by Cush. Just what the game has needed. Adrian Cush, the goal scorer. The run by Adrian Kilpatrick, but I think it's the other Adrian Cush, who gets the goal. This is where it was nicely fed inside here. There's that great stop, and in the backup, there's Cush fisting it away to the back of the net. This was a great move, full of pace and penetration. That's where Peter Canavan played it outside to Kilpatrick. Great save, and then knocked back into the empty net. Well worth taking a look at from the reverse angle. It's a great piece of goalkeeping initially, and that's Adrian Cush indeed who did get the goal. Lovely pass towards Greg Blaney again. Well, the Moldira taken by Greg Blaney, and that's where he picked up his first point of this Ulster final. Down looking for their 12th Ulster win in this, their 23rd final. So 2 points in a row now for Down, almost cancelling out that Tyrone goal. Kilpatrick against 3 or 4 Down men. And he's the tallest and strongest of their forwards. Adrian Cush, the goal scorer, getting well away from his marker. A goal and a point now for the Dunamore man. Did very little in the first half, doing a lot more now in the second, after Adrian Kilpatrick had won that. Well whipped over. Possession kept there by Conor Deegan, used to be the full-back. And DJ Kane, who's everywhere. Hand passed ahead there to Mickey Linden. Good reading there by Kane to pick off Linden. And 3 points in a row for Down. Just when he thought there was a hint of danger. Peter Canavan. But when he comes way out the field like that to get possession, something is missing in and around goal. There isn't the same threat. Donnelly. Stopped by James McCartan. Brian Gormley, again right in there, and the referee says he was being held down. Free kick. In the sultry afternoon, it's Gormley, who's played very deep indeed. This time Peter Canavan quite content with the point. That's his 5th of the day. Most of them coming from place balls. Peter Whitnell has just come into the match in the last couple of minutes as we watch Eamon Burns here. Again trying to turn on the style and kick over his first point. Eight players in all contributing to Down's tally of 117. Overall a very good team display. Down justifying their favouritism. Physically very strong. There'll be a real threat for any side in the All-Ireland series, I think. Foraging here is Pascal Canavan. Peter Canavan once again winning the free kick. The margin remains 7 points. So now very much at the discretion of referee Tommy McDermott as to how much time he's going to add on. Once again, Peter Canavan doing the needful. And Tyrone, you feel, will be a team for the future. That is 7th point of the day. In terms of scoring chances, Tyrone have taken 12 out of 21 scoring chances, whereas Down have taken 18 out of 27. And Gregory McCartan here, very commanding figure out around midfield. Inside towards Peter Whitnell. That's the big cheer you hear from the Down following. They remember him from 91 in particular with great fondness. Gregory McCartan was a spectator in those days. Kieran Corr. Plunket Donaghy. A challenge on Plunket Donaghy by Barry Breen. Overall, we haven't seen too much of the big man. Peter Canavan. And he's been the cause of many threats, as Gregory McCartan seemed to use an elbow there to down Paul Donnelly. Referee is in very quickly. Match which has always threatened to boil over. Tough, hard and physical it'll probably be deemed. Any hard knocks given and taken. Referee has now added on just over 3 minutes. Down in no particular hurry to take the free kick. Plunket Donaghy. Fed on here towards Stephen Lawn. Enterprising ball forward towards Paul Donnelly. Pushes his man on the back. His man on this occasion being Barry Breen, who says, hold on a second. Fine fetch by Plunket Donaghy. Paul Donnelly holding it up well for Pascal Canavan to come onto. And then he gift wraps that one, unfortunately, from a Tyrone point of view to Conor Deegan. Eamon Burns now. Dropped up towards Whitnell, fisted away from him by a Tyrone hand. It was the hand of Chris Lawn, supported by Paul Devlin. The substitute who came in for Faye Devlin. A lot of space now available to Tyrone to mount late attacks. Down have given up their all. As Still Paul Donnelly. And it's all over. Down are the Ulster champions once again. Greg Blaney has picked up another Ulster medal. His third medal, and one in hurling as well. Paul Higgins, one of their stars, but overall a good Down performance as they win the Ulster title for the 12th time. Pete McGrath's team doing the business in style, winning by 6 points. It finishes Down 117, Tyrone 111. Brian McLarnon makes the presentation. DJ Kane of Down, the captain. Down are the kingpins in Ulster once again.
It definitely is as sweet, because we have had a very traumatic year up here, and thankfully around Christmas time we all got together, cleared up the misunderstandings, and everybody since Christmas worked extremely hard, and I think today the players got their just rewards.
Physically you look even more intimidating than in 91. You're a very strong side right all over the field.
Yes, Tyrone are probably one of the smaller teams around. They're a very young side, a very inexperienced side, and they will come again. Today I think our experience told, and as you say, probably our advantage in physique told, particularly around the middle of the field, and as I said earlier, our long range scores, points in both halves were decisive, I thought.
Even when you conceded a goal in the second half, you came back with a series of unanswered points straight away.
That's true. When Tyrone got that goal, it left at only 4 points, and that put it up to our players. But they did show great character, great composure, and probably at that stage in the game, that is where our experience came to play. And I think in those stages, our experience did prove decisive.
Obviously, you go to Croke Park now, playing the Munster champions, and presumably you're saying to yourself, well, this isn't an end in itself, we can go all the way again.
Well, I mean, I think given the standard that Ulster teams have set over this past 3 years, Clonus now and winning the Ulster title is no longer an end in itself. We all look to further horizons, and we will certainly be looking to Cork or Tipperary, and they're our next opponents, and hopefully we can do as well as Donegal and Derry did in recent years.
Congratulations, well done.
So Down then, the Ulster champions again, pretty much as most people had expected, but perhaps with a greater ease than we might have thought. Let's take a look at the statistics from that game. A very small number of wides in the course of the 70 minutes, just 10 in all, with Down hitting 2 more than Tyrone. There were plenty of frees, mind you, 55 in all, with Down giving away 31 and Tyrone conceding 24. Well, in terms of scoring chances, Down converted 18 of the 29 they got. That's a 65% scoring rate. Tyrone converted 12 of the 21 chances they got, and that's a 57% return on their efforts. Well, watching that match in Clonus on our behalf this afternoon was Colm O'Rourke. Colm, you're very welcome to the programme. I mentioned there a moment ago that Down won as most people would have expected, perhaps with a greater ease than we thought. Would you go along with that?
Yes, I thought there was going to come a day soon when Greg Blaney and James McCarthy and Mickey Linden wouldn't play as well as they had been playing, and that Down might be in trouble. But in fact, Blaney and McCarthy probably weren't as influential today, yet Down won the game very easily. In fact, probably should have won it with a bit more in hand, because they were really the dominant side all through, apart from maybe the first 10 or 15 minutes.
It is ironic that at around Christmas time there was a dispute as to whether Greg Blaney or maybe even James McCarthy mightn't play for Down, certainly in the foreseeable future anyway. Amazing how things turned themselves around, because things looked really bad for them at that stage, a lot of internal disputes. That's
right, and of course we beat them in the quarter-final of the league as well, and things didn't seem to be going that well for them. But in fairness to Greg Blaney and James McCarthy, they've really put their heart and soul into Down over the last couple of months, and they've been two of the big successes of this championship. And in fairness to Peter McGrath, I think some of the moves that he has made during this championship have all worked very well. So both the players and the management seem to be playing their part.
They might have stretched it out in the end. It was tight enough at the beginning, and then Down of course missed this penalty which could have been crucial.
Yes, it was fairly balanced up to the time of the first penalty. Beautiful pick up here by Mickey Linden, who caused problems all through again and into Greg Blaney. And Greg held on to it for a good while there, but Faye Devlin commits a cardinal sin by picking the ball straight off the ground in the small square. And I think you can see there was a lot of Tyrone players around, and they did well to block up Greg Blaney, and you know, Faye Devlin had time to put his boot under it there, and
panicked a little bit, you might feel.
Possibly. Tommy McDermott well up with the play too, and saw that it was picked off the ground. Mickey Linden then blazes it wide. In the second half, Aidan Farrell does well, gets inside, gives a hint to one boot, James McCarthy, and tore into the parallel ground. I'd say in Tyrone to be calling him Clinsman after this one, but James was having his problems with Paul Donnelly all day, and the two of them were there's a lot of niggly incidents between the two of them. A lot of messing went on, and Mickey Linden left it to Ross Carr and he put it straight in. So at that stage really Down were very much in command.
Tyrone, mind you, got a goal themselves which kept them very much in the hunt at that stage.
Yeah, well, the game needed a Tyrone goal because Down were totally dominant, and halfway through the second half then Tyrone got this goal. It was about the only time that Tyrone ran at the Down defence in numbers. Peter Canavan was about the only Tyrone forward to make an impression inside here to Kilpatrick, and Neil Collins as well. Adrian Cush following up puts the ball in very nicely, but as you can see here, a lot of Tyrone forwards inside attacking, and Adrian Cush does very well there. And at that stage I thought maybe Tyrone would make a game of this because they were 4 points behind. They seemed to be coming with a bit of a charge, and the Down response, I suppose, was the response of a very, very good team.
Well, that's the next clip that you have picked out, because just to illustrate that response, a couple of quick points from Down then, and that really killed it off, didn't it? Yes,
the game was really over, and I suppose here you had Down at their best. Blaney to Linden, the sort of standard thing. Linden foul, still holds on to the ball and kicks an absolutely brilliant point in play. And I suppose every team knows that's going to happen, Blaney to Linden. Nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. And then straight from the kick out, Craig Blaney gets the ball and puts it straight back over the bar. And that was it. People could have gone home at that stage. Down were 6 points up. And then the last 15 minutes of the game was really a stroll for them.
OK, Colm, at this stage, let me ask you who your man of the match selection from that game was.
Well, there was a few Down players. I think the Down players were completely dominant in their respective man-to-man confrontations today, especially around the middle of the field. Now, I've given Mickey Linden so many man of the match awards that I'm sure he won't mind if it goes to some of the other players, even though Linden, again, was very influential. But DJ Kane had a brilliant game at left half-back today, and I chose him as man of the match.
Oh, certainly DJ played a captain's part today in Down's victory in Ulster. On that point, it was interesting to hear Pete McGrath say there that Ulster teams are now just no longer satisfied to win a provincial title, that they then want to go all the way, and obviously this is Down's ambition now.
Absolutely, they're getting very greedy up there. They don't want any other province to win anything anymore, and of course with Derry and Donegal gone before, and I suppose when you look back, I suppose the Ulster final really was that match between Derry and Down, which was played about 6 weeks ago, and they'll be very confident. If Down can come to Croke Park and score a goal in 17 points, I think they're going to beat anybody else that's left in it. But if Cork win the Munster final, I suppose it's expected that they will beat Tipperary, and if they do, I think we're in for a hell of a match with them and Down.
See, the interesting thing about Down is that although they have been out of the picture for the past 2 years, in fact on both occasions they haven't been too far away from the mark, because Derry was their problem, and Derry have obviously no bad side.
That's right. Well, the standard of Ulster football is obviously higher than anywhere else, and Down ran into Derry, a very good Derry team, and were beaten twice. And of course, Derry probably be thinking now that, you know, if things had been a little bit different that day 6 weeks ago, they could now be in the All-Ireland semi-final. So if you win an Ulster title anymore, you can go to Croke Park with confidence of beating anybody.
The Down team has changed a little bit since they won that title in 1991. If you're to compare the sides from what you've seen of Down so far this year, do you think they have the team to do it again now at All-Ireland level?
Well, I had my doubts about some areas of the Down team, but I think today that Down put in a better team performance than nearly they have in the other games, because their half-backs and their midfielders today were much better than I think in any of the other previous matches. And they still have this great scoring power that probably no other team in the country has. When you think about the fellas like Gary Mason and Mickey Linden, Greg Blaney, James McCartan, Ross Carr, all able to kick very good scores from play. And then you had Paul Higgins and Eamon Burns moving up and kicking points as well, and Gregory McCartan from midfield. So there's very few teams actually can have this spread of scoring power that Down have, and they're going to be very hard stopped.
Well, certainly on the evidence of today. Colm, thank you very much for the moment. We'll be talking to you perhaps a little bit later on. Just a reminder about our phone lines, by the way. That number is 0164 3535 if you're trying to get through to the programme. I gather the lines are very busy, so do bear with us on that. Now, apart from Colm, a reminder that we've also got Kieran Barr with us in studio tonight as well. That's because he has been watching this afternoon's Leinster hurling final at Croke Park. And that's the match that we're turning our thoughts to next. Wexford trying once again to land that provincial title that has eluded them for the past 17 years. They up against an Offaly team that has, in truth, replaced them in the status of Leinster hurling since the late 70s. A big game then for both counties, and commentary is brought to us now by Marty Morrissey.